It is iPhone season once again. By now, I hope you've watched the keynote, or at least a summary of it, because this is going to be a reaction video. I'm going to be giving you my takes, some of them mild, some spicy. It's everything that matters if you care about photography and filmmaking. Now, a very brief detour before iPhones. They refresh the whole AirPod lineup. And I got to stop here for a second because AirPods are just my favorite Apple product. Like, the iPhone does more, Macs are the center of my world, but the AirPods are just sort of simple and perfect in their way. And the AirPods Pro, the best of them, now can be used as hearing aids and also do hearing tests and also be used as hearing protection. All very helpful health features. And also the AirPods Series 4 have now been updated to be a lot closer to the Pro. You'll still find big differences though, like battery life is shorter on the regular AirPods. They don't have wireless charging, and the case doesn't have Find My, which I've used many times at this point. And now the iPhone 16 Pro. The regular 16 has some great updates, but they're the same basically as the Pro. So I'll come back later to things that are on all of the phones, but the Pro features, I'm very excited about some of this. 120 frames per second with full dynamic range. This was on my wish list and I am so glad to see it happen. It does support Dolby Vision, although typically I recommend not to bother shooting in HDR on your phone. I really prefer SDR. But if you want to maximize the image quality, you can also shoot to log. This has to go to an external drive. Now, they showed some demo footage from a music video they shot with The Weeknd. It all looked great. I've done a lot of tests with Apple Log. I've been using it all year. It looks amazing. Anybody out there who hasn't shot ProRes log footage before, you're going to be in for some storage surprises. These files are going to be enormous. I mean, shooting in 30 frames per second is already kind of too big. That's been my biggest complaint, shooting log to the native camera app on the iPhone 15 Pro. So I guess that still hasn't been fixed. So if you're going to be shooting slow motion, buy some extra hard drives. But I just want to emphasize again, this looks really good. They've also changed some of the ways that editing the slow motion works, where it can just play back at native speeds, and then you can also add slow motion ramps. This is a lot better and a lot closer to how professionals work. Just because you shoot 120 doesn't mean it's going to be slow motion, and the iPhone seems to understand that now. And the next big great news is the ultra-wide camera has finally had its huge update I've been waiting for. We've all been waiting for it. It's 48 megapixels now. This is what it should be. It should be on par with the wide angle lens because I use it all the time. I think you guys use it all the time. And people have even been unknowingly using that ultra wide more often. If you've noticed, the 1x regular lens now has a further minimal focus distance. So as you get close to an object, it'll often switch over to the ultra wide lens into macro mode. If this happens, you want it to look good. Like if the sensor is mediocre, then your close-up photos are all going to look bad. And I've heard people complaining about this. So it switches over at this distance, what, like 8 inches away, and people are frustrated. Like, why is the quality worse as I get closer? Well, this is a limitation of the lens. Like, it's not Apple trying to screw you over. This is just optics and how they work. But now that that ultra wide is better, you will feel like you're making less compromises as you get closer to your subject. The main cameras are still 48 megapixels, but the sensors are brand new, and they say that they now read out twice as fast. Apple pointed out this would give you 0 shutter lag, which was already massively improved on the 15 Pro. But what I'm most excited about is when you see fast sensor readout on larger mirrorless cameras, this can mean improvements in image quality as well. Like you get better dynamic range, less rolling shutter. A faster sensor is better for everybody, so I want to see if there's some trickle down improvements in terms of overall image quality as well. And Apple said that the video encoding is now 2 times faster, which sounds great. I could use that, but what's it going to do for us other than the new slow motion modes? I'd like to wait and see. I'd especially like a H.265 log codec so I can shoot more log video. But if you're stuck shooting large ProRes files, they did say that USB transfer speeds are now faster. Now the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max both have the 5x telephoto zoom lens. I think everybody's been waiting for this for a long time, except me. I'm gonna save my disappointments kind of for the end of the video, so stay tuned if you want to know like what kind of let me down. But I will say the 5x has been a fantastic lens. I've been shooting it a lot over the last year, and it's higher quality than what the 3x used to look like. It's a better sensor. They have been moving forward to bring it more in par with the main lens. So we're going to be at the best point of all 3 lenses almost having parity in terms of image quality. That's great. Apple has also slightly bumped up the size of the Pro displays. As somebody that uses the regular size Pro, this is great news for me because a lot of that space seems to have come from the bezels, and both of the 16 Pro models are still lighter than the 14 Pro models, because if you remember, they switched to titanium, which is a lighter material. So the 16 is slightly heavier than the 15, but still lighter than the 14. Also, battery life had some big improvements. Apple kind of glossed over the details. They just said, best ever, it's great. But looking at the actual numbers, the 16 Pro Max now has the longest battery life of anything ever at 33 hours, whereas the 15 Pro Max was 29 hours. Like that 4 more hours is quite significant. And the 16 Pro goes from 23 up to 27, both 4-hour bumps. Obviously, these ratings are done by Apple, but they do give you a sense of scale of how much longer you can expect it to last. Audio was a big focus for the Pro phones this year. Lots of features, including 4 new microphones. I think there always were 4 microphones, but they are all new, and they say it's going to offer a lower noise floor, just better overall sound. And they can capture spatial audio, which when you use the Vision Pro, that's so much of selling the immersive experience is that spatial recording. And it's hard to capture that any other way. Like that mixing takes skill that I don't have. So I'm glad an iPhone can now just do it all for me. I tried to find some specifics about these microphones and we just don't know much yet. But if you remember when the MacBook Pro had its microphones improved, that was a significant difference. So if we can expect something similar, I'd be really happy. Now let's shift gears from talking about what's new in the iPhone to how to protect your new iPhone. And that's with the sponsor of this video, Casetify. Now, you've seen their impact case before. It's been around for a while, very pocketable, very protective, tons of designs. You already know this one, but what's really new to me, I hadn't actually used one of these before, is the Impact ring case. Now it's about the same size and same profile as the Impact case, but it's got a trick up its sleeve. The camera ring pops open, and now you can easily watch movies, record videos, whatever you need to do without adding any bulk to your case at all. That's the Impact Ring. Now we've also got the Bounce case. This was introduced a little while ago and has very protective corners, so it can survive up to 21.3 feet. Like this fully absorbs the fall when it hits the ground. The Bounce case is a great balance of protection, style. It's still not that big, and there's a ton of new colorways available as well. So now you're familiar with 3 of Casetify's most popular cases, but they do have something brand new for me to unbox for you today. Introducing the new Ultra Bounce case, the most protective case, perfect for life on the go. That extreme corner protection is still there, so it can survive being dropped from up to 32.8 feet. It has what they call a Tesla lock design and 6 layers of 360 protection. That's 10 times military standard. If we compare it side by side with last year's case, you can see they really built out the corners quite a bit. This not only adds more protection to the edges of your phone, but also upgrades the functionality by adding anchor points on all sides of your phone. And the simplest attachment they've got is just this small carabiner that hooks on and instantly gives you a solid hold on your phone that you can attach however you'd like. And if you were curious how you're going to access that new button, it's simple. There is access to it through the case. If you want to learn more about Casetify, you can stick around till the end of the video because I've got a few more things to show you, or head to the link in the description. It's going to be casetify.com/Tyler Stalman to get 15% off your order. Let's talk about the iPhone 16 more generally now. So a lot of these features will be both on the Pro and the 16, but before that, just the regular 16s now have the 48 megapixel sensor that we saw last year in the 15 Pro, which I reviewed pretty extensively. I've been using it extensively and it's great. That was a huge upgrade. Now all of your photos are captured in 24 megapixels, so the 48 are downsampled and the results are really fantastic. There is a visible bump in sharpness, and now the 16 has the same ultra wide that the 15 Pro had, meaning macro mode. It has autofocus, so you can get as close as you want to subjects. I love the macro photography on this thing. Again, I like that it's better on the Pro, but the fact that everybody can get into macro is awesome. And if you're looking for inspiration for macro photography, I once interviewed all the winners of Apple's Shot on iPhone macro contest that they held. Kyan Drance was also on the episode, who's the vice president of iPhone marketing. It was a great episode of the podcast, so I recommend checking it out and subscribing if you haven't already. But of course, the highlight hardware feature is camera control, a dedicated capacitive button that is way more than just a shutter button. Now, I don't mind being the first one to point out that in my review of the iPhone 15 Pro last year, I asked for exactly this feature. If an action button was, let's say, lower on the side, then it would also function as a better shutter button. I'm not saying that's what Apple should do, but just where it is didn't quite have a big advantage for me in terms of photography. As much as I'd love to, I can't take all the credit for this. I mean, they actually went a lot further than I thought they would with this button. It is not just something you press down. It has gorgeous animations for one thing, but also it's capacitive. So depending how you tap and squeeze it, it'll take photos, videos, open up menus, and go through all sorts of things that I'll talk about later when I review the phone. But that's just to say they really did think through how this small area of the phone could do a lot of things. And there's some little details I think are very well thought out, like when you zoom, it actually jumps between each of the lenses. Maybe you can go in between them, but I don't want to. I like that it's 0.5, 1x, 2x, 5x, so that you're always at one of the optimal zoom ranges without giving up image quality. I always see people pinching and zooming into their phone, and you end up at like a 3.6 times zoom, and that's just the strange crop. You should have zoomed all the way to 5 or stayed at 2, something like that. And the camera control API is usable by any other camera apps. I've heard non-camera apps can't do anything with it, so it will be always used for a camera in some way. But very surprising for me was the demo for visual intelligence, where they basically launch the camera and all of a sudden they're getting instant AI feedback based on what the camera is seeing. OpenAI has done a demo like this where running the ChatGPT app with the camera on, it can describe what's around you.
I even know when a taxi is coming with its orange light on.
I spotted one just now. It's heading your way on the left side of the road. Get ready to wave it down.
And I love this idea for people that are visually impaired, where suddenly they're getting immediate feedback through AI of whatever they're seeing around them. This feature could be really impressive. The demo showed it in kind of more casual ways, like looking at a restaurant and seeing the hours. Features like that, I'm going to wait and see how accurate they are. As with any AI features, don't trust them too much right out of the gate, but it seems pretty likely that in a few years, this will be a pretty common method of how we're interacting with our phones, not just iPhone. I mean, I think this is going to be kind of everywhere, that there will be some immediate processing, actually kind of like Meta has already done with their Ray-Ban smart glasses that can do some of these basic features already. It's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be really interesting eventually. Maybe not on day one, though. Apple completely revamped photographic styles. I actually think this is going to be pretty big news based on the way that they did it. So when I first reviewed photographic styles, I said it was sort of so subtle that it was unimportant. Like it was almost just changing the white balance of your image. It did not give it anything like a film emulation or a filtered look that people would stick with. Photographic styles are now so powerful, they've gotten rid of filters in the Photos app, and this is the way that you will now process your photos without going to a third-party app. And it looks very powerful. The styles Apple showed in the demo had a huge variety. Looked like overall they're pretty smart about protecting skin tones. And I noticed it would push blues around more than skin colors. That's the way that a preset should work. So far, I've never seen a camera other than Fuji do presets well. Like, camera manufacturers just don't seem to be able to figure out how to get back to the days of film where the colors looked great without any editing. Maybe Apple did it this time. I don't know. Obviously, we're going to have to test. When I look at the way that the photographic styles are created, it seems to just be like one control axis. So I'm not sure how deep we can go, but obviously, I'm going to play with this a lot. Also, photographic styles can be changed later. That's why the filters are gone. You can always update them. And this actually does make the image files just a tiny bit bigger with that flexibility in the future. Both the 16 and 16 Pro have new processors, as you would expect, but it looks like the 16 got the huge jump this year. It leapfrogged a whole generation, and it shows massive improvements. Now, this isn't specifically a photography or video feature, but it does enable a lot more robust processing, things like zero shutter lag when you press the button. So I'm very excited about this. Another improvement that'll benefit creatives is MagSafe now charges at 25 watts. It used to only be 15, so you now have much faster charging if you just want to use wireless. So those features are all new to the iPhone 16, but there's also some iOS 18 features that other iPhone models will get. Like the 15 Pro will get the Apple Intelligence stuff. It doesn't go to any of the older phones, unfortunately. But we did find out that the first batch of new features will be coming in October. So it actually won't be on the review units. When you watch all these reviews, it's going to be missing a bunch of this Apple Intelligence stuff. And now it's time to circle back around to our sponsor, Casetify, and I'm going to show you at least 4 different ways that you can wear your iPhone with their Ultra Utility Strap or the Bounce Carabiner. The Bounce Carabiner is a smart, simple design using classic hook and loops. You can basically attach this to any of the looping corner points of the Ultra Bounce case. And now you've got a secure clasp that you can attach to anything. And for the ultimate in versatility, you're gonna want to check out the Ultra Utility Strap. This has a ton of different ways that you can hang it. Basically, all the bounce protection surrounding the case doubles as contact points where you can securely connect the strap. So you can hang it in kind of a classic way where it's got 2 contact points and it's hanging downwards. But one way you can do it that I think is interesting to combine with the new button on the iPhone is hanging it horizontally. So by putting the hooks on the side, you're kind of ready to go, almost like a classic camera, and it sort of looks like one when it's hanging around your neck or shoulder. Or if you want to strip it down, you could disconnect one of the points, take the carabiner, loop it around, and now you've got a simple wrist strap. So you always have a solid connection to your phone when you're walking around town. Nobody can just grab it out of your hand. And there's also the simple accessory where you can hang the strap by one point of contact, and this also makes it compatible with whichever case you're using. But the Ultra Bounce case protects your phone in so many different ways. Like, it's got the built-in lens protection so that you don't need to remember to add lens protectors, they're always there. And also be sure to check out their screen protector. It's the final ingredient to give you 360-degree protection on your phone, on top of the 6 layers of protection integrated into the Ultra Bounce case. Over the years, I've done some drop tests to show how impressive these cases are.
2, 1. Pretty good.
The new Ultra Bounce case is the perfect combination of protection, style, and versatility. And they do have more than just phone cases. I want to show you a couple of my favorites. First of all, the colorway on this charging cable is gorgeous. It's braided, it's super strong, and it looks great. I wish more cables were this exciting. And at first glance, their power through 67-watt fast charger is just another charger. But there's a very cool trick for when you're traveling. You can just attach the different regional plugs to the bottom without ripping the whole thing apart. You can add European or British plugs. Their AirPods Pro case looks great and keeps them safe. But I don't have time to show you everything. There are thousands of different designs and accessories. So to find out more, head to the link in the description. That's casetify.com/Tyler Stalman, and it's gonna get you 15% off your order. Thanks again to Casetify for sponsoring this video. But I want to mention one amazing surprise and one disappointment. Yeah, we'll start getting into things that bothered me. The good news is, out of nowhere, this almost snuck by, but you can now pause video recordings in the default Photos app. This has been on Android forever, and I always loved it. You can kind of use your camera like a camcorder where you just stop and start recording. This will be very helpful for quick social media creation or home videos where you don't want it to run for an hour, but in the end, you just have one kind of edited file. I really like this. But the Photos app has been completely redesigned. Some of the stuff in there is quite good. I've used it a lot, and I'm really not enjoying it. I think what kills me the most is that the default view for videos is now quite a bit smaller. There's a big white margin left on the sides of the screen that doesn't go away until you tap in. So you're kind of always zooming in and out of your images, and I just need to see them big, especially working. Like, I do not want them to be any smaller. I know this is a choice for aesthetic reasons, but it has practical repercussions of like my images just aren't as big. I want to use all the real estate. So overall, no, I haven't really been happy with the Photos update. It does try to surface more of your images from the past. I had always manually organized my albums, so that's actually quite a bit harder now. I know that change is hard to get used to. There are some good features in here, so I'm sure those will stand out over time. A few more disappointments. I hinted at this earlier, but there's no compressed log formats. You still need to shoot in ProRes, and log is the secret to unlocking infinite image quality on your iPhone. Like, I am so happy with it on my iPhone 15 Pro, but you have to use third-party apps to shoot in even slightly smaller formats like ProRes LT, and those are still bigger than they need to be. Every mirrorless will shoot to a format like H.265, so you kind of have these like medium-sized log files. Apple really needs to do this soon. It's slowing me down not being able to do that. They also need to add Rec 709 previews to those log files. So when I'm looking in my Photos app, a log video looks contrasty, like it looks normal, maybe just has a little flag telling me that it's log. Every year I'm someone that says, don't look at the rumors because you'll just be disappointed. Well, it happened to me this year. I saw the rumor that JPEG XL will be added. It seems like maybe it was somewhere. Mac Rumors is saying that, but I can't find anywhere that it is. If you haven't heard of JPEG XL, it will be the next great image format. It doesn't have any of the constraints of licensing that HEIF files do. I mean, have you noticed you can't save HEIF or HEIC or any of those formats out of anything other than your iPhone? It's because the licensing fees are keeping adoption to virtually zero. Like you really can't use it anywhere. JPEG XL solves so many problems. It can be lossy, lossless. I'll talk about it more in the future, but I want it to be in the iPhones. Now, this is also just a me problem, but I use the 3x lens all the time. So having no choice to have it on an iPhone anymore will be a downside for me. I prefer it over the 5X. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Most people don't say that. I ran a poll, everybody agreed they want 5X, so I guess that's just me. But why would I end on a low note? The iPhone 16 is also getting Wi-Fi 7, so it's gonna be a little bit faster. Stay tuned for more coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video. I can't wait to test these. See you then.